Morning. A few words come to mind when I think about what calling means to me. Passion, mission in life, vocation, what God calls us to do in life, purpose, and our inner lights. I believe that God calls each of us to share our own unique inner lights and talents with others, meaning to share joy, grace, hope. It is on each of us to discover those special gifts God has given us so that we can share them through our work and daily interactions. What I have found personally important is ensuring that the work I dedicate myself to aligns with my heart, because it is then that I know that I am doing what God calls me to do. I am an immigration attorney, and I work at a nonprofit in Fruitvale, Oakland called Centro Legal de la Raza. So I often work with people who have the least amount of resources and who have lost hope about being able to get help on their cases or the cases of their loved ones. As you can imagine, this was a difficult work week for us immigration attorneys. And it is in those helpless moments and difficult weeks that I sometimes question whether I am following what God is calling me to do. But it is through this work that I have also learned to appreciate the good moments, such as when someone is granted asylum or bonds out of detention and is reunited with their families. It is in these moments that it is also when I know that God is carrying me through my work and through the most difficult times. My specific work in immigration law is representing clients who are in immigration detention. I work with some people who are recent arrivals, but I also work with many who have been here their whole lives since they were just months old. I want to share with you a story about one of my favorite clients named Carlos. This particular client has been in immigration custody for almost a year. He is my age. He grew up in the mission in San Francisco, moved here from Mexico with his mom and siblings when he was just 9 years old. He speaks English just as well as he speaks Spanish. He attended elementary, middle school, and high school in the mission in San Francisco. Although we are the same age, all his life he has struggled with cognitive disabilities and other mental health issues. He has been able to work and support his family despite his childlike mind of someone who's around 6 or 7 years old. And so being in detention, locked away from his family, who have been unable to visit him because he's 3 hours away, has induced a lot of frustration and anxiety in him. He has also had to deal with bullying and other tough situations while being detained. Although he's my favorite client for various reasons, including the fact that he was really one of my first clients, he's also like my little kid at times. I know that he has a really caring heart toward everyone, including those who are detained with him. He's also, though, my most difficult client because he does require a little bit of extra time and patience. One time back in January, he got extremely frustrated and angry with me because he felt like he was done. He was ready to give up. He felt like the whole system was against him, and he needed to get out of detention now. He yelled at me for almost an hour over the phone. It definitely shook me up a little bit, and I questioned myself on whether I was strong enough to handle this type of situation and this type of work. And also, while representing him, I questioned my ability to be a good attorney when we were denied bond and the immigration judge denied it without an explanation after endless hours of work, preparation, and lots of effort on both our parts. After he was denied bond, I tried to run upstairs and meet with him before he got on the bus back to the detention center, but immigration wouldn't let me see him. I hoped and prayed that he would be okay, and I was afraid that he might request deportation because he had been in detention for so long. And the next day we spoke. To my surprise and delight, he sounded okay. He decided he no longer wanted to deport himself, but to try to fight his deportation case because he felt like he was truly supported by so many people, despite the loss. And he felt that people were fighting for him because they really cared about him. Going on Trinity, Mexico mission trips inspired part of my decision to go into this work. The appreciation and gratefulness from the hardworking families, despite their very real struggles, inspired me to think of ways I could be of service here locally. In addition, my faith has also led me to this work. God wanted us to treat each other how we would want to be treated. And so the messaging our current national leadership is promoting is disheartening. Leviticus chapter 19, verses 33 through 35 states, "When a foreigner resides among you in your land, do not mistreat them. The foreigner residing among you must be treated as your native born. Love them as yourself, for you were foreigners in Egypt. I am the Lord your God." This reassures me that I am on the right path. Now back to Carlos. Carlos had his big removal proceedings in March and in April. When we were preparing for in March, we were at the courthouse downtown San Francisco, where he was brought by immigration to meet with me. I could tell he was slightly distracted, not really listening to what I was telling him. And I think it was because he was really nervous about the upcoming proceedings. He suddenly interrupts me and says, "What is that? Do you hear that?" I heard some chanting outside saying, "You are not alone, we are with you." It was protesters, and it was perfect timing. I explained to him that there were many people fighting for him and the other detainees, that many did not think it was right and wanted to support him. He began crying, and he told me if he ever got a chance to get out of there, he wanted to do something to help the community and others like him. God was present, and I felt that what I was doing was very right. Carlos was granted asylum at the end of April of this year. This status allows him to stay in the U.S. legally and become a citizenship. However, he does remain detained because the Department of Homeland Security appealed the decision. The appeals process can take anywhere from 4 months to over a year. With Carlos, it is important to point out the positives and give him benchmarks. Otherwise, he starts thinking that the worst thing is going to happen to him. When I had to break the news that the department had appealed, I kept emphasizing that getting asylum is the best outcome we could have ever hoped for and prayed for. I would keep him apprised of each step of the appellate process. This past Wednesday night, however, I got a phone call from his mom, accompanied by a text with a Colorado address. They are moving my son. She was frantic. How can they move him? Abogada, ¿qué hacemos? She sounded desperate. Thursday morning, I began trying to negotiate with immigration, which later turned into arguing with them. They had to let him stay. He's a delicate young man. Any change will induce panic and anxiety. I could only imagine how much he was suffering if his mom was panicking with me to that extent. I had a scheduled phone call with him for Friday morning, so at least we had that. But I received a phone call from him later that same day on Thursday afternoon. I knew it was going to be him. I was absolutely dreading it. Bracing myself for him to be severely upset, I hesitantly answered the phone, trying to figure out what I would say to help him calm down. "Hello?" "Hi," he said. "Hi, Carlos. I know everything. Your mom has told me that they might move you to Colorado. Don't worry, I've been trying to get immigration to keep you here and move you down to Bakersfield if necessary. I'm doing all I can. There's still some hope that they won't move you, okay?" I quickly managed to say, hoping that some of that would calm him down. He responded, "They might move me tonight or next week," he said, "but don't worry, I'm okay," he told me. "The guards here told me that Colorado has 2 big yards. They will let us go outside more often. It's a newer facility. They might even have better food. I think the phone calls might even be cheaper," he said in a happy voice. In that moment, I wanted to cry and hug him at the same time. I felt like God was blessing him in one way or another, and I thanked the guards, but also hoped that they were right. I said, "Well, I'm still fighting for you. I want you to have a bond hearing before you go. It's important to get you in the court." "Okay," he said, "you do what you think is best." Wow, what a long way we had come, I thought to myself. Instead of my calming him down, he was calming me down. He told me, "Don't worry, I will be okay. Thank you for everything you have done for me. You've been an angel. I don't know if I will get to see you again, but thank you so much. You have seriously saved my life." We hung up. I did not receive the phone call we had planned Friday morning. Later that day, immigration called me to tell me that they had moved Carlos to Colorado. And I have yet to speak with him, but I hope and pray that he is okay. In that moment, though, I knew that the grace of God was within him, and he was sharing it with me. And I knew that I was in exactly the right place for me and my calling. Thank you.